Hi, I'm Kate. I work at Mr. Maple. Hey Mom! And we're just going to talk about a fun dwarf Japanese maple.
Hey, I'm Matt Nichols at MrMaple.com. Today we're going to be talking about one of our favorite dwarf Japanese maples, especially one of our favorite dwarf Japanese maples for bonsai. That's Acer palmatum Kiyohime.
Hi, I'm Tim Nichols from Mr. Maple, and we greatly appreciate you taking time to watch this video. This is an update to a video we've done before on Kiyohime, so you can check that one out as well. We figured we'd do an update to give you a much better quality video. Please take a minute, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got a full catalog of a lot of interesting rare Japanese maples and other plants you should definitely check out. I think you'll really enjoy them. Also, if you have any comments, post those in the comments section. That really helps us get in the algorithm so more people see our videos. And also make sure that you're subscribed to our weekly emails on MrMaple.com. We had 10 new fun, exciting trees every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that's something you'll definitely want to check out.
Acer palmatum Kiyohime is a dwarf Japanese maple with a lot of color changes. The spring color on this one is excellent. You're going to get a very small leaf with a bright purple border to a chartreuse green eye. So it gives a lot of color change. It stands out. Each leaf looks like it's been just painted the edges around every single little leaf as it gets that bold accent. It's going to fade from that purple border to a light green midsummer. We're actually here in August when we're shooting this video, and you can see the new growth actually has a bright purplish border over that too. So it starts to have some great late summer interest again on those secondary flushes. And excellent fall color. This tree is going to be a bold red in the fall.
The spring color on Kiyohime is outstanding, along with the summer and the fall color. But the thing that really makes Kiyohime so spectacular is its very unique shape. It really has one of those, some people call it a mushroom shape, where it stays low and spreading. But instead of having lace leaves, it has these smaller green leaves, palmate leaves. They really make this tree stand out in texture and form. And this tree will get about 3 feet tall by about 6 feet wide in 10 years. That makes it great for really small places in the garden, great for containers, and something that I think you'll really enjoy.
Thanks, Tim. Because of that great shape, Kiyohime is going to have so many good uses in the garden. This tree, it'd be remiss if I didn't mention that it's very popular for bonsai, for that small leaf, very small leaf texture that works really well with the pinchback method, making those leaves even smaller over the summer growth. So it's an excellent tree for bonsai culture. It can be done though in container culture exceptionally well. So if you're not going to take the time to become a master bonsai expert, don't be intimidated. This is one you can put in a small container or patio planter. It's going to give you some awesome shapes, some awesome color, and a bonsai-esque type shape on its own with that kind of small round canopy. This is a tree that's going to look great in the patio garden. Now, I've had a lot of people get these for small railroad gardens, for those style gardens that they want a fairy garden with a small compact plant, and it's excellent for that. I like to put it up next to patios and just kind of let it be flat. I actually have one of these next to my parents' front porch where it's got an area where I want to be able to see over, but I want a lot of color, and so that low height with that width gives it an excellent for up next to stuff where you don't want some height blocking out necessarily the rest of your garden, but you want to put a splash of color in there. Well, this is an excellent tree for up close, around a porch, settings like that. But it works anywhere in the garden where you want a small, compact Japanese maple that's going to provide a splash of color, especially in those spring months.
Acer palmatum Kiyohime is an extremely heat-tolerant Japanese maple for your garden. It can take those high heat situations. It's really bulletproof. I love this plant because it's a really strong grower, very heat-tolerant, and it's a tree you can use anywhere in the landscape. It's even great for those spots under the windows where you need something really short and wide. Kiyohime is also excellent for containers. Containers, you want to make sure it's good zones 5 through 9 in the ground, but if you're putting in a container, you're looking at zones 6 through 9 leaving outside with some protection, you're really gonna have to bring that pot inside in a zone 5. So make sure you do that. And if you put it in a container, make sure you've got good drainage. Good drainage is the key thing for especially Japanese maples in containers. And this is a tree that you're gonna really love in your landscape. This is a really old selection of Japanese maple. Kiyohime is a classic that's becoming a staple here at our nursery, but it's also a tree that's very underutilized in the landscape and garden. It's from a selection from years and years and years. We're talking at least 50 to 100 years ago in Japan. But this is a plant that you really should put in your landscape because it looks so different and so unique from all your other Japanese maples.
So here we have an up-close look at Acer palmatum Kiyohime. Just a reminder, we're here in early August here in North Carolina. We're actually in Zone 6B where our nursery's at. Mr. Maple's here in Western North Carolina and East Flat Rock. So you can kind of see some of those late summer new growth flushes that are starting right now. A little bit of green from that late summer color, but those new growth flushes are kind of exhibiting a little bit of that spring flush. I mean, they're not quite as pronounced as a spring flush. They're a little more muted than that, but some great purples. It's fun to have that splash of color this time of year for sure.
Yeah, this is a tree I really like, really because those palmate leaves and that unique shape really make this tree stand out in the landscape and garden. And for people who love bonsai, those leaves can be pinched off, and then when they come back during their second flush, they're much more tiny and smaller than they were during the first flush. So it really helps out whenever you're doing bonsai. You can do the pinchback method really well with this one. And this is one that really stands out.
Yeah, it's got a great small leaf. Masio Shiano is a good friend of ours. When we were visiting at World Maple Park, he really got his intro into maple photography from photographing food. And often it was those small leaf types like this one that accentuated and garnished meals. So it's kind of a fun way of thinking about this one too. That small foliage as just an accent. You know, it's an awesome plant that really gives you an ornamental feel with a really small, delicate looking foliage that's super durable.
Yeah, not only is the foliage and everything durable, this is a plant that is just, it's super solid when it comes out in the landscape. It's one that if you do have a late frost, it'll often push another flush of growth afterwards, after a frost. So it's one that's durable, both heat tolerance and cold tolerance. And it's one that will really, really stand out and be something very unique and different from your typical red upright or green upright or your weeping red or green lace leaves.
Yeah, this tree makes a great complement to any of your basic red lace leaves. If you're going to put this around a Tamukiyama, they're going to look starkly different every single season. So this is going to go out and look great against any Japanese maple. You know, we put it in that dwarf category, so it's one that can be used really anywhere you're going to use a tree like Makawa Yetsubusa. This makes a great complement as well. So it's another great dwarf that's going to give you some color and just something a little bit different there in the landscape for sure. Put this out in an area where you want to complement a beautiful upright red like Fireglow, because the true trees are going to look so contrastingly different that people are going to be shocked that both are Japanese maples.
So this is a new segment that we're going to start doing a little bit about conversations about Japanese maples, sometimes often the ones we're talking about. And if you like this, please post in the comment section below. If it's something that really people really like, it's something that we may start adding on a lot of our videos.
For sure, for sure. So Tim, what's one of your favorite things about Acer palmatum Kiyohime?
Probably its rounded shape. I mean, you've got weeping types of Japanese maples, you've got upright types of Japanese maples. I like the fact that it has that sort of tabletop mushroom appearance that really makes it stand out from your typical upright or your typical lace leaf.
I would say for me, it's probably that texture that it provides. It's going to look very unique in the landscape. You know, texture with the leaf shape, but also the color. You just get such a fun pattern in the early spring. I love to photograph these from above in the early spring just because, especially on an older one, you just get color as far as the eye can see when you get down close to one. And it just feels like a plant you can interact with. I like it because it feels almost like a, you know, all of our plants are living in our garden, but it almost feels like a living creature there. It almost feels like something that's, you know, bigger than life there in your garden.
I would say that's probably one of the reasons why two people use it for bonsai. Would you say this is one of the more popular ones for bonsai, Matt?
I would definitely consider it one of the more popular ones for bonsai because of its density. So it's going to be very forgiving, it's going to be easy to shape, it's going to naturally want to have a little bit of a wider stance to it, and I think that lends itself extremely well, especially to beginner bonsai, because you can kind of play with that shape, but get a lot of good width. So you're going to have that appearance of a very old tree, but in a very small tree setting.
You're so right too, I didn't even think about that. The fact that this has the lateral branching to it means it's really easy to wire and to shape and put in place where you want it, rather than one that's got an upright that's going to be strictly upright. So you can have that shorter bonsai.
Yeah, it's almost cheating for people getting into bonsai because you're already going to have the smaller leaves and you're already going to have the shape. So it's a great way to start out because it's going to lend itself to a lot of the qualities that you're trying to manifest by doing a bonsai naturally.
I would say most popular ones would probably be Kiyohime and Makawi Yatsubusa because they both lend themselves so well to bonsai. This is a tree that I really, really enjoy. I think the oldest one that I think we've ever seen was at Gristmill Landscaping, you think?
Yeah, we got to go to Bob's place there and see just a beautiful specimen. Now we always try to give time frames for sizes. There's just a beauty at his garden that was just, exquisite when it gets that kind of size and age to it, and it was just amazing.
One of the things I liked about it is he'd planted it on a rock wall, and over the years, because it kept going lateral so much and it got so much weight to it, it just covered the whole wall. So you lift up the tree and you see the rock wall.
Yeah, I think that is something to remember too. I've planted these right up next to rock walls. If you've seen any of our display garden videos on Hillstone Arboretum, a lot of rock walls there. If you plant this up next to a rock wall, be conscious that you will get a little bit more of a half moon eventually, because there's several of them there where what we've created isn't a full circle. We've kind of created a more of a half circle shape because we've let that side of the wall naturally keep the tree from getting too wide that direction, which actually looks really cool too. It's a great way to fill in a space, but you can use it up next to a house. One of the beautiful things about Japanese maples are they have a very non-invasive root system. So it's not something you're gonna have to worry about growing into your foundation or overtaking an area. You want to be conscious of the plants you put around it, that they're not using up too much of the space for those roots, because the roots aren't very invasive at all. But yeah, you can put them up really close to a structure like that, like a wall, a landscape architectural wall, something like that, and not have to worry about the tree actually impeding that wall eventually.
One of the things I like about this tree too is when you plant one, it will start making almost a perfect circular ball shape all by itself. So that uniformity is really pleasing to the eye when you see it out in the landscape, and something that really stands out. Kiyohime often has very lateral branching. People often ask us what's the difference between Kiyohime and Murasaki Kiyohime, and there is a difference. Murasaki Kiyohime arches slightly upwards, where Kiyohime will eventually have more lateral branching to it.
Yeah, and some of that's more prevalent in older specimens for sure. It's a tree we love because, like Tim mentioned earlier, it's very durable. This is going to work zones 5 through 9. So as you may, we get asked that all the time. We always try to say that in most of our videos. That way you can kind of get a good understanding. Now zones actually cover the cold tolerance of the plant, so it doesn't actually work toward the heat index. Now zones are a great example for East Coast. There may be plenty of people in Zone 10 California that can grow this tree even in full sun. So it's not a perfect example of always, but it's a great starting point, especially for the East Coast gardener.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so as well. Again, this is a brand new segment for us on Mr. Maple in our videos. You often see they're pretty uniform going through a lot of our videos. We try to talk about sizes, shapes, uses, all that. If this is something you want to see in more videos, please say so in the comments below, because we listen to those comments and we try to make adjustments to the best we can.
Yeah, and we're going to use this to fill in some of your questions. And if this is really popular, it may become the basis for a little bit more of like a whole piece on conversations, where we can almost do a little bit more of like a format where we can answer all the questions, and almost more of like a, what was the word I'm thinking of?
Like a podcast?
Like
almost?
a podcast, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, like a podcast style format where we can put a multitude of questions and have more of a conversation with each other, but also more of a conversation with y'all, where we're taking your questions and incorporating those in to our own conversation about the plants. Hey, thanks for watching our quick look at Acer palmatum Kiyohime. We greatly appreciate you liking, subscribing, sharing, and just following us here on the Mr. Maple Show. It's how we get to share our passion in Japanese maples with others, so we greatly appreciate it when you continue that on by sharing these videos with your friends, especially your gardening friends. So take a second, like it, subscribe to it, and definitely share it with your garden friends so we can continue to help this channel grow. If you haven't already, check out our weekly emails on MrMaple.com. We had 10 new exciting trees every single Tuesday at 10. We're always curating that to have something new and interesting going on there. So definitely check that out. It's something you're going to want to be a part of. We greatly appreciate your continued support. Thanks so much. God bless and have a great day.
If you're still watching at this point, in the comment section below, comment your favorite small leaf Japanese maple.